Okay, good morning everyone. So I am teacher Diane and today we shall be discussing some of the important things when it comes to testing. So let us begin. When we test students, from the previous lesson, we have learned that we would like to test students so that we will know if they understand the lesson. And in language, there are lots of tests. We conduct different tests in order for us to learn the different macro skills if the students have that, especially if we're talking about English language. So, um, one of the tests that we are conducting is the receptive skills. So, when we say receptive, from the word itself, receptive, so what we get, what we receive. Yeah. So, in learning a new language, we need to master the five macro skills to become fluent. So, that is the reason why when we would like to take a test in IELTS, we are test in English proficiency by reading, writing, and speaking. Reading, writing, speaking. The 4 R's. Reading, writing, then listening also. So now we shall discuss those things. We usually start by learning by listening or viewing. That is why when we were young, our parents exposed us to songs and English cartoons, and that is also the reason why most of the songs are very educational. The songs in numbers are very catchy. For example, some songs like um, the Indian boys. There's one little, two little, three little Indians, four little, five little, six little Indians. So why do we need to count Indian boys? Because the students would like the kids to learn how to sing the different numbers, and little by little they are counting. So we started by listening. So from that, our parents would always talk to us, and little by little, we try to respond, try to give them feedback. So today, we will start our journey by receptive skills. So from the previous lesson, you have learned that listening skills, reading, and viewing are receptive. When we say receptive, we will listen. Nadidinig natin, pumapasok sa atin. We are receiving skills. Because these are the skills that we first learn. Okay? But, however, um, the listening part, bago tayo, ano, the listening part is actually the most neglected skill. When we learn how to speak, only few listens. That is the reason why you should learn how to listen. Kayong mga teacher, you need to listen to your students, to some suggestions from your future colleagues and some of the future people that you will learn. Kailangan matuto tayong makinig. So it is very important skill for us. So let us now begin by reading this article. Actually, if you have, hindi ko na pipilitin na sagutin nyo to since I know that you have a lot of things to do. You have a lot of things on your plate. But if you have time, this one, the Cleopatra City Lost and Found by Patrick Lynch. This is actually from the SRI of Scholastic. So I got it from there. Kinipe ko siya. So this is sample of reading comprehension. And you will read the selection. And I know you're very familiar with this one. Most English teachers check the reading comprehension of the students by giving literature, an article to script, and then they will answer some questions. So when we listen, testing listening involves a variety of skills. At the lowest level, it requires discrimination among sounds, discrimination among intonation, the stress patterns, and comprehension of short and long listening skills. In this lesson, we will focus on sound discrimination. So we discriminate the different sounds. Diba? For example, this one. This one is a cute meme. And together we will rise. Diba? Usually, let us pray. Okay, so this is a very funny meme, but and actually, minsan di ba thrice nga ba yun? As in, because syempre hindi. You are referring to the verb rise, which means stand up. And Since Americans, English speakers love blending, let us pray. So, oh my God, it's letters. Okay. So we have a lot of misheard words, misheard um, songs, diba? We have a lot of that from YouTube, diba? So we've heard some different songs, kaya minsan there are times that we need to know how to discriminate. And we could only discriminate the different sounds if we are familiar with the different terms. Sounds are sometimes difficult to discriminate in a language other than their native language. Primarily if they distinguish a native language. The students must learn how to discriminate the sounds of the language clearly to understand the message they hear. The image above serves as an example, but of course might be different. According to Love, defines it, language testing, sounds are the ability to distinguish between similar sounds. Weaknesses in auditory discrimination may be caused by physical hearing difficulties, such as blue ear, by deficiencies in auditory perception, or by combination of factors. And a common task for students in testing auditory discrimination is to distinguish minimal pairs. Are you familiar with minimal pairs? Minimal pairs are same um, some of the words there are the spelling is almost the same. There are only a few letters which are not the same, but so it has a different meaning. So here are some examples: cut cat, green green, meet met, go whoa, thin thin, same name, boy toy, poor, sheep, sheep, mad, maid. Actually, sometimes sheep and sheep are some of the most commonly used minimal pairs. So let's have more minimal pairs, shall we? So let's have a research. Minimal pairs. Okay, so that you have more minimal pairs. Let's have minimal pairs. Let's have more. Let's ask Google. Hulagway. Okay. That you can understand. I know you're already familiar with this one. So let's have this one. Minimal pairs. Some more examples tayo. Batter, barter. Cut, cat. Beat, beat. Pin, bin. Not, note. Van, van. Cheap, cheap. Then, hard, heart, thin, thin, jot, yacht, cheese, cheese, hack, hag, go, woe, especially, sheep, ship, sin, thin, said, zed, cab, cap, thing, thing. So again, those are some examples of minimal pairs. Okay, so let us go back. Directions. Of course, Filipinos, we have problems with this one. P and V. I remember sometimes, even if you are really good in English, there are times that some vowel words will slip. For example, the port. Ano yung port? Port. The for, yung pala, hindi fort pala. But because there's a port. Sabi nga, it's hard to learn English. Why, Eka? Why? Because sometimes fish is the one that swims. Fish pala. Fish. Okay, so it could be piece, a piece of cloth, fish. Okay, so it has problems yan. Sa V, P, V, and B, V. Okay, also may problema tayo dyan. And Z, sh. Okay. So direction, write yes in the two words. This is an example of test. You heard in each pair have the same vowel sounds. No, if have different sounds. So let us check. Hat, fat, the same. Pill, fill, the same. Pork, fork, the same. Ban, van, van, same. Thin, thin. Okay, tama. Bowl, bail, veil. Pour, raise, seal. So those are some examples, although all of them are they have the same vowel sounds. Next, we have listening comprehension. According to Renuka Devi, 2014, listening awakens awareness of the language. That is why it is essential to learn the listen to target language to improve language ability. So we always need to listen so that we will develop our comprehension. According to Nadig, 2013, listening comprehension encompasses the multiple processes in understanding and making sense of spoken language. This includes recognizing speech sounds, understanding the meaning of individual words, and understanding the syntax of sentences. So, ito yung sample. Actually, I got this from TOFL Junior. So, this is an example of um, bakit ganun? Listening comprehension. Wait. Bakit testing reading yan? Wait lang ha. Okay. So I think this is an example of recording. Okay. So narrator, please don't mind this one. So on the recording, you will hear, listen to a high school principal talking to school students. I have an extraordinary announcement to make. So that's just examples of the listening comprehension. Kasi sa TOEFL exam, what will happen to you is that you will listen to these conversations and then afterwards answer. You will answer sa book. Okay, so test booklet. What is the subject of the announcement? So the school will be adding new classes. So for those students who would like to take the TOEFL exam, you must have this one. So now let us now have this one, testing reading. I hope that you're already you understand testing listening skills. When it comes to reading skills, reading is a process of decoding symbols. Always. Letters or symbols are that corresponds to meaning of the sounds. Because if you will think about it, these sounds are actually meaningless. We just put meaning on it. That is why there's a meaning, but actually there's not. Diba? So now for this one, so that is why reading is just decoding. We are decoding the things that um, we assign value. Kaya ayaw natin maglagay ng X pero because of putting values to some symbols, nagkakaroon tayo ng reading. So having poor reading comprehension will put students in a hard time. Reading comprehension is an important skill. It means students will mostly read their lectures. Students who have a hard time decoding words needs to put more effort and guidance. So I remember I have a student who has a very low reading comprehension skill. So it's hard for my student to understand the different lessons because he doesn't have the ability to read complex ones. And in high school, especially for fourth year students, you already have um, hard subjects, especially in science, in literature, medyo nakakasakit sa ulo. And if you have a low reading comprehension skill, it will be hard for you to review. It will be very hard for you to chunk the words. For example, anong ibig sabihin ito? So everything you will decode. That's why you need to have practice. The best way you could do is to introduce the students in reading small works. Kaya studying is actually combination of parent talaga. Kailangan si parent, bago pala magsimula yung bata, he or she have a habit of letting the students learn the basic from the very beginning. For example, kaya importante yung assignment, especially in elementary. Why? Because what you could do is, we will start first by reading. Okay, class, we will read first this selection. Then the following we will read. And then the following we will read. So, you could see, kailangan talaga nagbabasa. Kasi, pabigat na pabigat siya. And reading comprehension will hinder the students. Most tests are actually reading. So, what are the different reading tests? When we test reading comprehension of students, we have these things. One, we identify the gist or intent. That's the most important one. What is, especially if it's information text, what is the gist? Why did you write this material? What do you want to say? What do you want to learn? Okay. Next is scanning to locate specific information. For example, you read something, and you want to check, for example, a detail. You want to answer a certain question, and you just look for the answer. You will also identify the storyline if you're having a literature part or a story sample. Identifying examples to support a fact or opinion, using context clues, recognizing organizational features of the text, identifying the reference of pronouns. So you should know who is, if the pronoun used, she is the most beautiful according to Adele. So who is she? Okay, so you should have the antecedent, pronoun antecedent, and the author's purpose. Okay, so these are the different ways to test the different reading comprehension. And reading comprehension actually has different, sometimes one uh, one exam could test all of this, and sometimes it's not. So in Scholastic kasi ang ginagawa nila, they have different tests for each of this one. Okay, it's good that if you will have Scholastic in your future schools. Okay, so here are some examples of reading comprehension test for Scholastic. So if you will, I hope that you will read this. Actually, this I typed this one, and this is one of our lessons, and it is for the author's purpose and fact opinion. So this is our examples of author's purpose. Okay, so yun yun. And okay, so that's it for the reading comprehension and listening. So receptive skills naman. Next part is testing the productive skills. So I will stop first para ibang video naman siya. Okay, para ibang video. Stop recording tayo.